What up, Fight World? It's your boy Ego, and I'm back with some more boxing. Today is Monday, which means Monday Mail Day, and I picked a lot of questions, so I'm going to jump right into it. I'm going to group the similar questions together so I can try to do it one shot, one kill. Let's jump right into it. First question comes from Brian Olea. Roman Chocolatito Gonzalez, what do you think his potential is as far as fighting the best? Should he, and do you think he can move up in weight? Now, I absolutely think at some point he can go the Donaire path and move up in weight classes. I think it'll take time. He's, I believe, late 20s. So he still has some time to grow and mature in his body to continue maturing. But I like Roman Chocolatito a lot. I put a lot of people on him. I did a Boxing Ego first look. I'm glad he's getting the HBO exposure. He's going to be in the pay-per-view for Triple G versus Lemieux. And I think in terms of not who he's fought, total skill perspective, he's literally one of the best in terms of how his punch variation, how he mixes it up, how he moves, his offense mixed in with defense, and the things that he does. He does some subtle things. If you watch, it's really a thing to be amazed by. And Mohammed Benachur says, what is your opinion on Roman Gonzalez, the flyweight champion at Boxing Ego? So I guess I probably should have read that question first, but I really like Roman Gonzalez. I think he has a high ceiling. He's definitely skilled. He has, a lot of people don't know this, but Alexis Arguello, the late Alexis Arguello, right, who fought Aaron Pryor, he actually mentored Chocolatito Gonzalez early on because they're both from Nicaragua, as well as other guys like Mayorga. But, I mean, in terms of, true, real talent, I think this kid is the goods, and I'm anxious to see him. And like I said, I'm glad that he's getting that HBO platform. He did pretty good on his debut. I think it peaked over 1 million views. So I'm looking forward to see what unfolds with his career. But he's definitely a strong champion. I just hope he's in a division without much notable stars. So I just hope that he can get the level of competition, and fighting Brian Valoria is a good step in that direction. So I like Chocolatito. Next question comes from Amok PVP. Dear Boxing Ego, is it possible for you to cover prospects like Sammy Vasquez Jr. or Prichard? I'm always hearing about Earl, the hype Spence Jr., but those other guys are not getting anywhere near the same attention as Spence. Also, is it possible to hear more about Terrence Crawford and Demetrius Andrade? Yeah, that's a good question. My goal is I want to put spotlight. Like I said earlier in this, I did the Roman Chocolatito first look, so maybe I'll try to make some more first looks about some of the lesser known people like the Sammy Vasquez's and Prichard Colon, just so the people who aren't exposed to them would get the proper introduction to them. But there's a lot of people, Amir Imam, I mean, there's a ton of people that there's a lot of people I want to talk about. It's just, you have to do things in a chronological timeline. But yeah, I mean, I'm all up for suggestions. If you guys have specific people, then leave it in the comment of videos. If you have specific topics, I try to get to everything. I try to get to as much as I can to keep you guys well informed. But I have to cover the biggest stuff first. And then, like I said, if you have suggestions aside from that, then let me know. As far as Terrence Crawford, I try to cover him. I might even try to go out to Omaha again. I went to his fight. I've been out to Omaha to watch him fight. The kid is butter, and I like watching him, so I'll try to give him as much coverage. He's a real cool dude, right? I'll try to give him as much coverage as I possibly can and enough spotlight. As far as Demetrius Andrade, very skilled, very talented. I've had the pleasure of interviewing him as well, and I like Demetrius Andrade. The biggest thing is he's dealing with litigations and lawsuits, and he's disappeared for a while. I don't know if that was the best decision for him, but boxing is very fickle, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. So these guys have to, when the lawsuit came about, I made a video about Demetrius Andrade, but I mean, beyond that, he has to get something moving with his career for me to cover it. I mean, I don't really know what to cover about Demetrius Andrade other than that, to be honest, because I haven't heard no noise being made. I ain't heard or seen anything really other than the lawsuit and fights that were trying to be made that fell apart with him. So hopefully he gets back in that square circle ASAP. Next question is from Bendova. Oh, I see what you did there. What's next for Danny Garcia? Possibly Robert Guerrero. I mean, for me personally, he's at welterweight now. He says he feels good at the weight. He feels strong. It's easier for him to make. He can focus his training camps. So I really just want to see him fight top names. Amir Khan rematch. I would love that. Keith Thurman, Kell Brook, Timothy Bradley. I mean, any of those fights. Pacquiao. I would entertain really any of those fights. So to me, that's what's next for Danny Garcia. I just hope he fights the Sean Porters or a guy of that status in his next fight. That's what I want to see. And they're talking about making a Guerrero fight, which is solid. It's not horrible. Next question comes from Black Rooster. Do you see Triple G becoming a big pay-per-view superstar like Money Mayweather? I could see him being on pay-per-view and being a pay-per-view star, making some good money and doing solid numbers, but not like Floyd Mayweather. And it's not just because, Floyd Mayweather there's a lot of differences. Like, streaming wasn't as popular when Floyd Mayweather's been in the game for a minute. So that's the difference. There's a lot of different errors. Other thing, you look at Mayweather at Triple G's age of 33, 34, look at what Mayweather had already accomplished. How many former champions, current champions, and world champions had he beat at that time? So every fighter has their own path, and every fighter has their own chronological order. So yes, Triple G is a star. He's very popular, but it's going to be hard to become like an equivalent pay-per-view star because the climate for pay-per-views is different, especially with all the changes like streaming. A lot of people are like, they pick and choose. Fans pick and choose. They say, I'm not watching that. I'm not paying for that. I'll stream it. It's a good fight. I'll stream it. That's how fans act now. So that's one thing. And then you also have a new structure like Premier Boxing Champs, which is making noise and making a lot of solid fights with the big stable that Al Heyman has, and that's on Primetime Network TV. So I'm not saying pay-per-views are going to dissolve and just go away overnight, but you got to look at it. Now you're going to be, as a business, you're going to have to ask yourself some questions that you didn't have to ask when Floyd Mayweather was doing pay-per-views with Oscar De La Hoya. There was no premier primetime boxing. It was years and decades since we had seen boxing on network TV, and all you needed was a satellite dish. So that being said, I think the whole climate for building and grooming a pay-per-view superstar is totally different. And it's not even just boxing. If you look at music, the whole climate of the music industry is exactly the same. When I was growing up, you had acts like, let's say, Mariah Carey. Her record label put tons of money into Mariah Carey. They had a superstar. She had a beautiful voice. She could hit all these octaves. So when it came to do music videos, they would hire real actors that are in real, like, Matthew McConaughey or whoever. They'd have elaborate stunts and big production music videos, right? Because the companies and the record labels at the time had money, and everybody was buying albums. Now people stream. Now people buy singles on iTunes and different stuff. The whole game is different. So you have to evolve with the times. Now you don't see record labels putting a whole bunch of backing and money behind acts. You know what I'm saying? To make these elaborate, if you look at some old music videos, they almost rival movies. Like, look at Michael Jackson Moonwalker. That's like a movie, right? It's not just a music video. But now you don't really see 10-minute music videos that have this elaborate plot with actors and stunts and pyrotechnics and stuff like that. So I strongly feel the same way about pay-per-view. You look at it and the climate for pay-per-view has changed. Again, there will be pay-per-views. I mean, we're getting 3 back-to-back-to-back, or 4. Shane Mosley, Mayorga 2, Mayweather, Berto, Triple G, Lemieux, and then Cotto Canelo. So we're still getting them, but as time goes on, I keep seeing the pay-per-view format is going to change, and people are going to be the companies are going to have to ask themselves, do we really have a pay-per-view card, especially when you're competing with network TV and things like Premier Boxing Champs. Next question, M1H Jan. Okay, is it just me, or are we seeing some punch-drunk fighters all of a sudden? Watch B-Hop the other day. He doesn't make any sense. I know he's your boy, but Shane Mosley is slurring. I mean, what's going on? Is boxing a more high-risk sport than MMA or kickboxing? Is Mayweather right when he wants to live a healthy life by evading and clinching. Please make sense of this for me, Ego. Man, y'all picking some controversial topics. I mean, Mayweather's absolutely right. And he's absolutely right for the simple fact of this. You fight the fight that's going to give you the winning chance of winning. So if he's perfected this formula, this science of boxing where he utilizes movement with offense, with precision punching, with his natural abilities like speed, timing, reflex, and he has a good defense. That's his schooling. That's who he is. You know what I mean? He should never dumb it down. And especially in such a brutal sport where every time you lace up, you're setting foot in that ring and you're putting your life on the line. So I have no problem with guys who fight smart. I mean, it just is what it is. Because this is the biggest thing that pisses me off. I love a good brawl. The Ward Gottis, Ruslan Provatnikov is my guilty pleasure type of fighter like that. But the thing that I don't like is boxing fans. They're very temperamental and they're very for the moment. They're very fair weather fans. A lot of them. Meaning when somebody's doing great, they're on top of the world. You know what I mean? They can't be stopped. When Mike Alvarado, people forget, this was not that long ago where Mike Alvarado was undefeated. He had a war with Bradis Prescott. He had a war with Brandon Rios and a great fight. And then he lost to guys like Marquez and Provatnikov, and then to Rios in the third fight. Now people are like, oh, you're done. You're done, son. Retire. You're done, son. And that's how they act. I could think of countless examples of different fighters, and fans completely turn their back on them. When they go through the hard times, that they get dropped. Victor Ortiz, you know what I mean? I mean, not saying I condone everything he's done, but look how fans treat him. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, you quit. Oh, you quit because you're a bitch. You know what I mean? Fans are cruel. And that's the best way to put it. Fans are absolutely cruel. Gabe Rosado, people aren't talking about how he was supposed to fight Triple G at a catch weight. They weren't supposed to fight at 160 because Gabe Rosado was a 154-pound fighter. They don't talk about how Gabe Rosado was I believe the IBF mandatory to get a title shot. He was going to get a fight with the champion. Gabe Rosado said, this is a hell of an opportunity to fight Triple G, who's making some noise, and I want to be the first to defeat him, and I don't want the catchweight. He says, I don't want no excuses, so I'll move up to the full 160, so there's no excuses, and I'll fight him at a catchweight. He fought J. Leon Love when he was undefeated. He fought an undefeated Peter Quillen. He fought David Lemieux, you know what I mean, a power puncher who I think was coming off of maybe the Fernando Guerrero brutal knockout, right? You look at these things. These are all facts that I'm telling you. And what do they say about Gabe Rosado? Because he didn't win all those fights. Even though J. Leon Love tested positive for something, so that was later changed to a no contest, people don't care. Either that or they don't know enough about the sport. And what do they say about Gabe Rosado now? Oh, he's a bum. You suck. You're a punching bag. You know what I mean? And it's brutal. So when it comes to the slurring, I mean, it eats me up to see guys like Terry Norris who can't really speak clearly. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's the type of person, if you were to hear him speak, you have to really listen and like kind of pay attention to, and like you kind of feel bad for him. You know what I mean? Guys like Freddie Roach with the shakes. Freddie Roach he's a former fighter, took punishment. Now he has Parkinson's disease. He has the shakes, you know what I mean? So to me, the game is cruel, and what's even more cruel than the game are the fans. So get your money while you're in it. Try to protect your body. Try to be the undefeated, undisputed, all that good stuff. But Floyd, in my opinion, is not wrong for wanting to live a healthy life and thinking about life outside of boxing. Because a lot of people don't know, Mildred Taylor, classic. You know what I mean? He has, to this day, has some of the fastest hands I've ever seen in boxing, right? Ever. Like, he was that fast. To me, I don't know about y'all, but to me, he has some of the fastest hands that I've ever seen in boxing. Watch some highlights of Mildred Taylor. They say he's bagging groceries out in Philly. Like, that's, I mean, we're talking about a guy, Julio Cesar Chavez Sr. is probably still rich. He's still kind of in the boxing world. His son's doing boxing, things like that. But you got this man, Mildred Taylor, who gave Chavez a great fight. even though he lost, you can even dispute how it ended. You know what I'm saying? Because he was beating Chavez, right? But I'm not even going to get into that. And the end result is he's bagging groceries. You know what I mean? There's no pension. There's no kind of fun. So, yeah, take care of yourself. And if you're a defensive fighter and you take minimal punishment as a result of it, cool. Because like Floyd says, these fans aren't going to pay your bills after boxing. And a lot of these fans are going to drop you. You know what I'm saying? Like, keep it real. I seen people dogging Arturo Gatti, and then he died. And then all of a sudden people are like, oh yeah, Thunder, he was such a warrior. It's Thunder. You know what I mean? But they were dogging him because he lost to Alfonso Gomez. They're like, hang it up. You lost to Alfonso Gomez. Your lip was cut. And they dogged him. And then they died and felt bad. They felt bad for him. So, yeah, take care of yourself in boxing. Sorry for that little rant. Next question is Micah Barnes. Who do you think would win, Roy Jones or Triple G? Now, I tell you guys all the time, I'm a huge Roy Jones fan, and I'm not being biased when I say that. I don't know what you're referring to in this question. Obviously, if you're talking about now, Triple G will beat him now because I don't think Roy Jones is the Roy Jones that I grew up on. But if it's like a prime versus prime type of deal, Roy Jones all the way. I mean, look at Roy Jones at Triple G's 33 years old. Look at what Roy Jones had accomplished at age 33. People don't know this. He got robbed in the Olympics. That's one thing. But he should have been a gold medalist. Got robbed in Seoul, Korea. 2, he was undefeated from the late 80s all the way to the early 2000s. That's a long reign. That's a long span of time. Undefeated. Now, some people, I know my boxing, they're going to say, no, he wasn't. He lost to Montel Griffin. But you and I know, well, you probably don't, because if you're trying to challenge me on this, you don't know shit about boxing. Anyway, Roy Jones was beating the shit out of Montel Griffin, and he knocked him down, and he got disqualified for hitting a downed opponent. He bowed, and the punch slipped when the guy was already on the ground. So he got disqualified. So, I mean, let's keep it all the way real. Do we really count that as a loss? You know what I mean? Obviously, he got disqualified, so technically it's a loss or whatever. But, I mean, we know what happened, and we know what happened in the rematch. So, prime versus prime, Triple G, no way that he beats Roy Jones Jr. Some people would say, oh, Roy Jones doesn't have the best chin. I mean, in his prime, he was a phenom. He was a freakish athlete. So you would have to even get near his chin anyway. And he's moving around, dancing around you, and he's very unorthodox, hands low. I just don't see Triple G being, like, able and equipped to deal with that. Triple G's excellent, too, and I'm a huge fan of Triple G. And he's great at cutting off the ring. But how do you cut off the ring on prime Roy Jones Jr.? Like, how do you do it? He can move. He can stay right in front of your face. He has crazy speed. And the biggest thing is I've seen Triple G get hit. And I've seen him get hit pretty often. You could say, oh, he's doing it for Mexican style and for the fans and all that. But whatever you're talking about, he still gets hit. And Roy Jones was just a freak of nature. I mean, we're talking about a guy who moved up all the way to heavyweight. You know what I mean? Past middleweight and all this. And moved all the way to heavyweight. Even though it was John Ruiz. Some people, oh, it's just John Ruiz. Well, you tell me what other middleweight, guy who was fighting at middleweight, that's like Triple G moving up and fighting Steve Cunningham. Or, I mean, John Ruiz, I think, is done more at heavyweight than Steve Cunningham. But that's like him fighting Amir Mansour or somebody. You know what I mean? There's still a huge threat in that. Like, if Triple G moved up and fought Amir Mansour. Is Amir Mansour Klitschko? No. But he's still a fucking heavyweight. You know what I mean? So, Roy Jones all the way, and I'm not being biased. I like both of them, but I can't see it no other way. Next question, Marcus Jones. Yo, boxing ego. Do you think there is a coincidental list in the sport of boxing where certain black fighters don't get the respect of the recognition or the recognition they deserve? Oh, absolutely. There's absolutely. And sometimes I try not to talk about it because you got a lot of, like, the internet breeds ignorance. You got a lot of dumb motherfuckers who just run around here and race bait and try to start stuff. I'm not asking for a pity party. It actually, you know what I'm saying? A lot of people don't even know what I am. You know what I'm saying? I'm actually mixed biracial. So, like, you know what I mean? A lot of people don't even know what nationality I am. But anyway, it's absolutely true. You can, like, this is the thing. In America, a lot of people want to act like things don't happen. Like, people talk about police brutality or racism in boxing. They're like, no, you're just being sensitive. You're pulling the race card. Like, it's not pulling the race card if this shit is actually happening, dummy. Like, you know what I'm saying? Police brutality, that's something we have to live with. The fact that you can't go to the movie theater and not have somebody fucking shoot it up or possibly shoot it up, that's something we have to live with. There is real terror in America. There is real racism in America. But they try to pigeonhole you. And what I mean by that is they try to pigeonhole you where if you bring up the race in boxing or these social issues or these different issues, then all of a sudden you're playing the race card. Like, no, you're playing the race card. There's no coincidental list. No, there really is a coincidental list. There are people that hold different people. I mean, I could blow your mind. And this is a good topic. I'll probably make a whole separate video about this because I don't want to get too far off on Monday Mail Day and then some people are like, oh, you're talking about race. And I'll leave it like this. Floyd Mayweather, for example, he's the #1 in the sport. People are like, why do you use him as an example? See, that's the thing. Why would you even get mad that I'm using Floyd Mayweather as an example? You know what I'm saying? There's no reason to even get mad. He's an example. He's a premier face in the sport of boxing, so I'm using him. You know what I mean? But you got a lot of the race baiters. They'll be like, why do you keep talking about Floyd? Like, you know what I'm saying? Stupid shit like that. But check it. Bret the Hitman Hart. We'll take it to wrestling. Bret the Hitman Hart. His famous tagline. He wore these cool glasses and a little leotard and all that, right? And he's from Canada. Bret Hart would be like, I'm the best there is, the best there was, and the best there ever will be. That was his tagline in wrestling for all the WWE fans, right? That was his tagline. The best there is, the best there was, the best there ever will be, right? Some people liked Bret the Hitman Hart. Some people hated him. But he never got the level of critique and criticism. You could say, oh, it's because wrestling's fake. But fake or not, you know what I'm saying? That's still what he's saying. He was still saying it. And he didn't really get a lot of flack for it. Because some people don't even know wrestling's fake. You know what I mean? Like young kids. But a lot of people didn't care. He said that. You look at Ric Flair. Ric Flair was flamboyant. He had the rose, woo, and doing all this and talking about his money and stuff. You didn't really have people that care. And then I know some people are going to try to challenge, oh, you're talking about wrestling. This is stupid. This is wrestling's fake. It's only for entertainment. Doesn't matter. Because these same rules and ideas can be applied to Ronda Rousey. Ronda Rousey, she's an actual fighter. She says things that can be perceived as cocky. She says, I work harder. I deserve to win because I work harder than all these other girls. How do you know how these other girls are working? Just because you're beating them doesn't mean they're not working hard. So that could be perceived as cocky. You look at Conor McGregor. He's very prideful. He's from Ireland. I like him. I really like him, right? And he's talking about, I'll knock Mayweather out and I'll dismantle him. And Jose Aldo, a respected champion, I'll beat him and dismantle him. Like, you're talking about a guy with more credentials than you. You know what I'm saying? And people love it. They eat it up. They're like, yeah, Conor, tell him. Tell that Brazilian. You know what I mean? But Floyd Mayweather, he does his little bit of trash talking and it's the end of the world. So, yeah, there absolutely is different views and double standards and a coincidental list where people hold different standards to different people. And that's a fact.